The greatest mistake you can make in life is not trusting the wrong person, choosing the wrong opportunity, or making the wrong decision. The greatest mistake is misjudging a human being, because some people forgive and move on, while others never forget. Some people accept defeat, while others spend years waiting for the perfect moment to strike back. And if you offend, betray, or underestimate the wrong person, the consequences can follow you for the rest of your life. Today, we will explore Law 19 from the 48 Laws of Power. Know who you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person. Welcome to Career Canvas Power, where transformation becomes your identity. Here, we turn knowledge into real power for your life. One of the harshest realities of life is that actions do not create consequences by themselves, people create consequences. The same words spoken to two different individuals can produce completely different outcomes. One person may ignore them, while another may remember them for years. This is why power is not only about controlling situations, it is about understanding the human beings inside those situations. Many people spend their lives learning skills, gaining knowledge, and building resources, yet they fail because they do not understand the people around them. They assume that everyone values the same things, reacts to problems in the same way, and forgets offenses at the same speed. But human nature is far more complex. Every individual is shaped by different experiences, ambitions, fears, insecurities, and desires. Because of this, every person responds differently to pressure, competition, respect, and conflict. A careless mistake in judging someone's character can turn a minor disagreement into a lasting feud. A poor assessment of another person's nature can destroy opportunities, alliances, and even years of hard work. Law 19 teaches that before making any important move, you must first understand the person standing in front of you. The ability to read people accurately is not merely a social skill, it is a survival skill. In the world of power, those who understand human nature gain advantages long before any battle begins. The central lesson of Law 19 is simple but extremely important. Never assume that every person can be treated in the same way. One strategy may work perfectly on one individual and fail completely on another. Some people respond to persuasion, while others respond only to strength. Some value loyalty above everything else, while others value status, pride, or personal freedom. The danger begins when you stop paying attention to these differences. Many people create powerful enemies not because they intended to, but because they wrongly assumed they understood the person they were dealing with. They believed an insult would be forgotten, a betrayal would be tolerated, or a defeat would be accepted. Instead, they awakened resentment, determination, or revenge. The world contains individuals who appear harmless but possess extraordinary persistence when challenged. It also contains people who react emotionally in the moment and people who respond strategically over time. The wise never rely on assumptions. Before acting, they study the individual, identify what matters to them, and consider how they are likely to respond. Success often depends not on the move itself, but on whether that move is directed at the right person. A mistake in judgment can transform a small victory into a major loss. Therefore, choose your opponents, allies, and targets carefully, because character often determines consequences. At its deepest level, Law 19 is a lesson about adaptation. One of the most common weaknesses in human behavior is the tendency to project our own mindset onto others. We assume that because we would react in a certain way, other people will react similarly. This assumption creates blind spots. Human beings are driven by different emotional needs and psychological motivations. Some are guided by logic, some by pride, some by ambition, and others by deeply personal values. As a result, identical circumstances can produce completely different reactions depending on the person involved. This is why observation is one of the most valuable tools in the pursuit of power. Before making important decisions, wise individuals watch how people behave over time. They pay attention to patterns rather than promises. They notice how someone handles criticism, success, disappointment, responsibility, and pressure. These moments reveal character more accurately than appearances ever can. Words can be carefully chosen, but behavior eventually exposes what a person truly values. A key insight behind this law is that reactions are often determined by internal factors that remain hidden from view. A person's past experiences, personal ambitions, insecurities, and emotional wounds can strongly influence how they respond to events. What seems insignificant to one person may be deeply important to another. Because these influences are not always visible, careless assumptions become dangerous. The individual who appears calm may possess remarkable determination. The individual who appears confident may be highly sensitive to disrespect. The individual who seems powerless today may gain influence tomorrow. For this reason, effective strategy requires flexibility. Rather than forcing one approach onto everyone, successful people adjust their methods according to the personality and motivations of the individual involved. They recognize that understanding people creates options, while misunderstanding people creates risks. The deeper your understanding of human nature becomes, the more accurately you can predict behavior, avoid unnecessary conflicts, and make decisions that serve your long-term interests. This is the true foundation of Law 19. Before deciding how to deal with someone, first understand who they really are. At the heart of Law 19 lies a principle that has shaped countless victories and failures throughout history. Never underestimate another person's capacity to respond when their interests, pride, beliefs, or emotions are threatened. Many conflicts begin not because someone lacked strength or intelligence, but because they made an incorrect judgment about another human being. They assumed the other person would remain passive, accept the situation, or simply move on. Instead, they discovered that people often react in ways that cannot be predicted by appearances alone. A small criticism may mean little to one individual but become a deeply personal challenge to another. A setback that discourages one person may motivate another to work even harder. This is why wise individuals never focus only on what a person currently possesses. They pay attention to determination, resilience, patience, and emotional commitment. These qualities often matter more than status, resources, or outward confidence. Many of the most dangerous opponents are not those with the greatest power, but those with the strongest reasons to act. The lesson is not to live in fear of others. The lesson is to recognize that human beings are capable of extraordinary effort when driven by conviction. Understanding this reality helps prevent careless mistakes, and encourages more thoughtful decisions. One of the reasons people are difficult to judge is that character is rarely visible on the surface. Human beings naturally present selected versions of themselves to the world. They reveal certain traits while keeping others hidden. As a result, first impressions can be useful, but they are often incomplete. A person may appear friendly because they value cooperation, or because they understand the advantage of appearing approachable. Someone may seem quiet because they are thoughtful, not because they lack confidence. Another person may appear calm while experiencing intense emotions beneath the surface. This complexity makes human behavior difficult to predict without careful observation. The most reliable way to understand people is not through what they say about themselves, but through what they repeatedly do. Behavior reveals priorities. Choices reveal values. Reactions reveal emotional tendencies. Over time, patterns emerge that provide a far clearer picture of character than appearances ever could. This is why effective leaders, negotiators, and strategists spend more time observing than assuming. They understand that hidden motives, unspoken ambitions, and personal insecurities often influence decisions more than logic alone. The ability to recognize these deeper forces allows them to understand situations that others misread. In the world of power, insight into human psychology often provides an advantage long before any action is taken. Few mistakes are more costly than misjudging another person's character. When you misunderstand someone, every decision built upon that misunderstanding becomes weaker. You may place trust where caution is needed. You may apply pressure where patience would be more effective. You may dismiss a potential threat or overlook a valuable ally. In each case, the problem is not the action itself but the inaccurate assessment behind it. Many personal, professional, and political conflicts can be traced back to incorrect assumptions about motives and behavior. People often focus on immediate circumstances while ignoring the personalities involved. Yet circumstances change quickly, while character tends to remain consistent. A person who values recognition will continue seeking recognition. A person who values loyalty will continue paying attention to loyalty. A person who is highly competitive will continue responding differently from someone who values harmony. Understanding these traits allows you to make better decisions before problems arise. It reduces unnecessary risks and helps you avoid conflicts that serve no useful purpose. More importantly, it allows you to recognize opportunities that others miss. The individuals who consistently succeed in complex environments are rarely those who know the most facts. They are often those who understand people the best. By developing the habit of studying character carefully, you strengthen your judgment, improve your decisions, and gain a deeper awareness of how human nature shapes every important interaction. Understanding people is not a gift that a few individuals are born with. It is a skill that can be developed through observation, patience, and attention to detail. Most people listen only to words, but words often reveal less than actions. If you want to understand someone's true nature, watch how they behave when circumstances become difficult. Notice how they react when they receive criticism. Do they become defensive, reflective, aggressive, or motivated to improve? Observe how they handle setbacks and disappointments. Some people accept responsibility and learn from mistakes, while others immediately look for someone else to blame. Pay attention to what consistently motivates them. Are they driven by achievement, recognition, security, influence, or personal values? These motivations shape decisions more than most people realize. It is also important to notice patterns rather than isolated incidents. Anyone can act kindly for a day or appear confident for a moment, but repeated behavior reveals character. The more carefully you observe, the more accurately you can anticipate reactions and make informed decisions. This does not mean manipulating everyone around you. It means understanding reality as it is rather than as you wish it to be. In the long run, the ability to read people accurately becomes one of the most valuable forms of intelligence because it helps you navigate relationships, opportunities, and challenges with far greater awareness. A historical example often associated with this law is the conflict between. According to the traditional account recorded by, Cyrus sought to defeat the Misjudging through strategy and deception. During the conflict, Tomyris' son was captured and later died. From a military perspective, this may have seemed like a significant advantage. However, the story illustrates a deeper lesson about human nature. Cyrus focused on strategy and immediate results but failed to appreciate the determination and resolve of his opponent. Rather than ending the conflict, the loss strengthened Tomyris' commitment to continue the struggle. According to the traditional account, she pursued the conflict with even greater intensity, and Cyrus was eventually defeated and killed. Whether every detail of the story is historically certain or not, the lesson remains valuable. Success can create overconfidence, and overconfidence can lead to poor judgment. When people focus only on resources, numbers, or immediate advantages, they sometimes overlook the human element that ultimately determines outcomes. Determination, conviction, and emotional commitment can become powerful forces. The story serves as a reminder that understanding an opponent's character is just as important as understanding the battlefield itself. A failure to appreciate what truly motivates another person can transform an apparent advantage into a serious mistake. A powerful example of successfully applying this law can be seen. Bismarck understood that politics was not simply a contest of laws, armies, or resources. It was also a contest of personalities, ambitions, fears, and interests. Before negotiating with rulers, diplomats, or political rivals, he worked to understand what motivated them. He studied what they wanted, what they feared losing, and what pressures influenced their decisions. This knowledge allowed him to choose approaches that were appropriate for each situation, rather than relying on a single method for everyone. Some individuals responded best to persuasion. Others required firmness, patience, or strategic compromise. Because Bismarck invested time in understanding people, he was often able to anticipate reactions before they occurred. This reduced unnecessary conflicts and helped him navigate complex political situations more effectively. His success demonstrates an important truth about power: information about people is often as valuable as information about events. Many individuals focus exclusively on facts, plans, and objectives while ignoring the personalities involved. Bismarck recognized that decisions are ultimately made by human beings, and human beings are influenced by motives, emotions, and perceptions. By understanding these factors, he gained advantages that were unavailable to those who relied only on force or authority. His example teaches that lasting influence is rarely achieved through action alone. It is achieved through understanding. The more accurately you understand the people involved in a situation, the more effectively you can choose the right response, avoid unnecessary resistance, and position yourself for long-term success. The deeper lesson of Law 19 is that power begins with perception. Most people focus on what others are doing, but highly effective individuals focus on why others are doing it. They understand that behavior is rarely random. Behind every decision lies a motive, and behind every motive lies a set of values, desires, fears, or ambitions. This is why character matters so much. Character influences how people respond to opportunity, pressure, success, and conflict. The person who values status will react differently from the person who values security. The person driven by ambition will make different choices than the person motivated by loyalty. Because of these differences, effective strategy requires flexibility. There is no universal approach that works with everyone. The ability to adapt your actions to the individual involved is one of the most important advantages in any competitive environment. Another key insight is that emotions often influence decisions more than people realize. Logic may explain a choice, but emotions frequently drive it. Those who learn to recognize these underlying forces gain a clearer understanding of human behavior. In the end, power does not come from controlling people. It comes from understanding them well enough to anticipate reactions, make better decisions, and navigate situations with greater awareness than those around you. Like many powerful ideas, this law can be misunderstood or applied poorly. One of the greatest dangers is overconfidence. After learning to analyze people, some individuals begin to believe that they can accurately predict everyone they meet. This mindset often leads to mistakes, because human beings are more complex than simple labels and assumptions. Another danger is stereotyping. It is tempting to place people into categories and assume that everyone within a category will behave the same way. However, effective judgment requires attention to the individual rather than reliance on generalizations. A further risk comes from focusing only on visible traits while ignoring deeper influences. People may change their behavior as circumstances change, and motivations are not always obvious from the outside. Perhaps the most significant danger is confusing limited knowledge with complete understanding. Observing someone for a short period does not mean you fully understand their character. Wise individuals remain curious and continue gathering information, rather than assuming they already know everything. They recognize that confidence should be supported by evidence, not by guesswork. The moment you stop learning about people is often the moment your judgment begins to weaken. There are situations in life where conflict cannot be avoided. Competitors challenge your position, individuals violate important boundaries, and circumstances sometimes require decisive action. Law 19 does not suggest avoiding every confrontation. Instead, it emphasizes the importance of entering confrontation with accurate knowledge rather than assumptions. Understanding another person's character remains valuable even when disagreement is unavoidable. In fact, it becomes even more important. Knowing how someone is likely to respond helps you evaluate risks, choose appropriate tactics, and avoid unnecessary escalation. There are times when a firm response is necessary to protect your interests or maintain credibility. There are also situations where accepting a calculated risk is the best available option. However, these decisions should be based on careful assessment rather than emotion. The goal is not to become passive. The goal is to become informed. True mastery is demonstrated by individuals who understand the personalities involved before deciding how to act. They do not allow anger, pride, or impulse to determine strategy. Instead, they combine awareness with action, judgment with courage, and knowledge with execution. This balance allows them to respond effectively even in difficult circumstances. The practical value of this law becomes clear when applied to everyday situations. Before placing significant trust in someone, take time to observe how they behave across different circumstances. Notice whether their actions remain consistent when they face pressure, responsibility, or criticism. Listen carefully to what they emphasize because recurring themes often reveal priorities and motivations. When working with others, recognize that different personalities respond to different approaches. Some people appreciate direct communication, while others respond better to diplomacy and patience. Avoid creating unnecessary hostility through careless words or public embarrassment. Respectful behavior reduces conflict and preserves options. At the same time, remain attentive to the possibility that first impressions may be incomplete. Continue gathering information instead of making quick judgments. The habit of observing, listening, and evaluating helps improve decision-making in relationships, business, leadership, and daily life. Over time, this awareness becomes a valuable advantage, because it allows you to respond to reality rather than assumptions. Law 19 teaches a timeless lesson about the importance of human understanding. Success is not determined solely by intelligence, effort, resources, or ambition. It is also influenced by the ability to accurately assess the people involved in every situation. Each individual possesses a unique combination of motivations, values, experiences, and emotional tendencies. Ignoring these differences often leads to poor decisions, damaged relationships, and avoidable conflicts. Those who take the time to study character gain a clearer view of the world around them. They recognize opportunities more effectively, anticipate challenges more accurately, and make choices with greater confidence. The purpose of this law is not to encourage suspicion or fear. It is to encourage awareness. By paying attention to how people think, what they value, and how they respond to different circumstances, you reduce uncertainty and improve judgment. In the end, one of the greatest advantages in life is the ability to understand human nature realistically and objectively. The people who consistently make wise decisions are often those who understand others before acting. They recognize that every situation involves people, and every person brings a unique set of motivations to the table. Master this understanding, and you gain a powerful foundation for leadership, strategy, and long-term success. Thank you. Remember, real power comes from understanding and applying. Stay connected with Career Canvas Power, your transformation continues.